Below the ice, the forgotten gods slumber still.
Operation Argus began in absolute, unforgiving silence.
But the instruments told a far more disturbing story. They were searching for an anomaly. They found a history. The ice surrendered its cold, silent hold, inch by agonizing inch. A metal not of this earth, older than any civilization. Every reading screamed impossible, defying known material science.
They had stumbled onto the entrance to something far grander, far older.
Then, the dead city, for a moment, began to awaken.
The chamber was vast. The symbols impossibly complex. A metropolis built by beings that predate human memory.
They were not alone in the subterranean darkness anymore.
The mission shifted from exploration to desperate containment.
Something moved in the periphery. Something not human. The first tangible evidence, buried, biological and terrifying.
A frozen energy source. Power beyond comprehension.
They were trying to recover what had already begun to escape.
Global systems faltered. The interference was deliberate.
Our most advanced interceptors were hopelessly outmatched. Zero inertia. Zero possibility. It was simple defiance.
More assets arrived. The cover-up solidified, brick by icy brick.
The stories of Admiral Byrd were dismissed. They were warnings.
Years later, the witnesses still whispered of the truth they saw.
Deep within the classified vaults, the dissection of the impossible began.
They sought to understand the very DNA of the star-born visitors.
The schematics were flawless, the physics beyond our wildest dreams. But the power they controlled was not meant for human hands.
The containment was broken. The old city was awake, truly awake.
Forgotten things emerged, ancient and hungry.
Beneath the surface, the structure of their reality was revealed.
Silence followed the signal. No distress, only a final broadcast.
The world's climate responded to the unnatural disruption.
The original vessels of the old civilization prepared to launch. Last-ditch efforts to regain control failed. Everything was lost. Energy weapons we couldn't comprehend. Instant, absolute annihilation. The truth was powerful enough to tear the world apart. They were not conquering. They were reclaiming what was theirs. The horror wasn't death. It was the crushing indifference.
Then, the gods departed, leaving only the cold, hard silence.
But the mark of their return, etched forever into the memory of Earth.
Governments of the world had their data. And a new secret. The official record was written in ashes and carefully constructed lies.
The world was fed a story of weather, a perfectly rational narrative.
But the tangible truth remained locked away, deep beneath the bedrock.
Yet, the sky began to change. More frequent, silent visitors.
The attempts to decipher their language continued in secret bunkers. The abandoned camps became silent monuments to a lost battle.
And sometimes, the forgotten light of the gods lingered still.
The search went deeper, to the abyssal plains, where the sun never shines. Not all the entities of the ancient world preferred the cold surface. We were not alone on this planet, and never have been.
The key was always above us, in the alignment of forgotten stars.
A material that bent light, and perhaps the very fabric of time. The quiet incursions started long before the world was ready to listen.
The technology we recovered was being weaponized relentlessly.
Zero-point energy was no longer theoretical. It was a terrifying reality. Some truths are too dangerous to ever see the light of day.
They watched from the void, and they were finally returning for more.
The forgotten gods had merely retreated, not truly vanished. And they left behind a single beacon, a silent promise. The great thaw is accelerating. The cover is dissolving.
They are learning how the gods built, how they defied dimension.
The language revealed not science, but a cosmic liturgy.
Every advance meant another horrifying consequence, another risk. Even the water they touched was forever changed, forever alive.
It didn't begin in Antarctica. It began much, much earlier.
The architecture defied geometry. The reality defied sanity. The attempts to silence the evidence were always met with force.
The decision was made: bury the truth or risk absolute global chaos.
The material remained an enigma, simple yet infinitely complex. Patterns were warnings, silent, impossible messages.
Those who saw too much were consumed by the knowledge.
A final seal was implemented, to save us or to trap them.
Even the essence of life reacted to the proximity of the gods. They contained a vibration, a cosmic frequency we shouldn't hear.
The veil is thin. The boundaries between worlds are fragile. They were always one step behind the cover-up, always watching.
The contamination was not biological. It was technological and systemic.
The official explanation was delusion. The official diagnosis, insanity.
The final barrier is breaking. The structure is now exposed. The entities moved through reality with cold, alien indifference.
The key to their transport was numerical, a mathematics of the void.
The next mission was simple: retrieval of the gods' broken promise. Evidence was recorded by those who never made it back.
We briefly glimpsed their mastery of the fundamental forces. New sensors deployed to listen to the ocean's terrifying echoes. Deep within the ice, the perfect, silent geometries remained. But the land itself had begun to shift, to reveal the impossible.
The beacon was not receiving. It was sending a direct signal.
A true sanctuary of the gods, untouched for millennia.
A mirror to a time when humanity was not yet even a whisper.
The first steps taken onto ground, not meant for mortal feet.
Infinity opened before them, a tunnel to unimaginable space.
The key was always touch. The transfer of forbidden knowledge.
The engine of the ancient world roared, a silent, deafening awakening.
The immediate response from above was total, coordinated, and overwhelming.
They were not the forgotten. They were simply the patient. The final transmission confirmed their deepest, unadmitted fear.
The veil was torn. The two worlds were now irrevocably one. A cold, absolute finality. The end of the human chapter.
A world consumed by the gods' silent, cold indifference.
The true forms of the forgotten beings were unveiled to the world.
Knowledge itself became the final weapon against all sanity.
Our most powerful defenses crumbled like dust beneath their gaze.
They simply returned home, taking the ancient city and the truth with them.
But a piece of their world remained, permanently etched onto ours. And those who know the truth can never truly look away.
The greatest cover-up of all. The pristine, final, frozen silence.
But the pulse of their ancient technology still beats, waiting.
The message is now out there, and it has been answered.
And we, too, are now building our own silent, desperate answer. The world is watching the ice, but they are looking to the stars.
We dug the grave once,
Now, we are simply preparing for the sequel.
Contamination remains in the atmosphere, a cosmic residue. What they left behind was merely a reconnaissance vessel.
The main fleet has finally arrived. The time for truth is over. No more secrets. No more whispers. Only the cold, stark reality.
The door is open, and the forgotten gods have stepped through.
We knew all along, and now so do you. The reckoning is here.
Antarctica was only the beginning. The world is next.